This is the 151st episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the second week of September 2013. This episode is titled Winter 14 Release Notes. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by The Compliance Locker by Arkus. Capture all chatter posts, deletions, files. Available for free on the App Exchange. Get your chatter under compliance at compliance-locker.com or search for it on the App Exchange. I'm your host, Jason Out, and joining me is the co-host, Justin, who's probably going to comment on my salesy voice. How you doing, Justin?
I'm reserving my comments for later.
Oh, you're on my salesy voice?
You know, I'm actually not doing that great. I have a bit of a cold coming on.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that doesn't come through
the
on
mic?
the podcast through the mic.
Everybody should wash their...
Like wash your ears after you listen to this.
Yep.
Put some Purell in there.
There you go.
So I apologize in advance if I run out of steam or if my voice... I also feel like we should apologize for taking the last 2 weeks.
Did we take 2 weeks off or 1 week?
It was a sabbatical.
Yeah,
It was a hangover from the MVP summit.
It was.
It's just what happens.
We never even got back.
You go to the MVP summit, you come back, you podcast about it, and then you're just wiped out.
Yes.
So we apologize. A lot going on. But, we know there's also a lot going on in Salesforce world. There's release notes.
And we're going to talk about it.
300 pages worth.
309?
Yeah. So we have an obligation to the audience to at least talk about them a little bit.
Yeah,
Probably
a lot. So we've actually, since then, the blog has chugged on and has published 2 release notes blog posts.
Correct.
One called Winter 14, Salesforce Winter 14 Release Notes Rapid Reaction, which is our sort of go-to. And then now turning into a
series.
A series called
that way.
Why Sales Teams Should Be Excited About Winter 14.
Yeah.
So we have 2 blog posts to talk about it. We can both refer to those blog posts at blog.argusinc.com, now working again. And we can also just talk about the release notes in general.
Yeah. Let's go to the blog post.
Has it been
and then
long?
we'll come back because there's so many things. I always write the rapid reactions, and they're getting harder to write because I try and keep them to like 4, 5, 6 items. I feel like I'm going to have to just start doing bulleted lists because there's so much. And I skipped so many things that I would have liked to have included in my rapid reaction, but it is just, I don't want to put every feature in there. I kind of want to just highlight the ones that I'm really excited about.
That should be. And I think it should be a combination of, here we are, talking about the blog on the podcast.
Yeah.
No, it should be a combination of both things you're excited about and also things I think that like people may have missed or didn't hear about.
Yep.
I think the average Salesforce user / admin maybe doesn't read the whole thing, and so they're using your blog post and the other blog posts and this podcast as a way of sort of catching up and listening to, spending 35 minutes where I'm not going to read the 309 pages and kind of get a feel for what's coming up.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Answer, hopefully.
Has it been long enough since the MVP Summit that you've forgotten the things that we're not supposed to talk about?
No, it's hard.
So
it's really hard. And today I had a call with a product manager, and we were talking about some of the things that it's all mumbled in my head. So
we'll stick to the script.
We're going to stick to the script. We're going to read directly from the release notes.
So you wrote a blog post.
I did. I wrote a rapid reaction.
So let's talk about it.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I made this one 6. Usually I go to 5, but I took this one to 6. And I like to, when I write my rapid reaction posts, I like to look for features that aren't necessarily always the splashy ones, that are like hidden gem type of features that admins would really, really appreciate, and once they knew about it, their users would really, really appreciate it. So I did go with a few splashy ones, right? Like I did.
Name one. Let's talk about one.
I talked about the Salesforce console for sales. I think this is a huge, huge step in the right direction. The service console has been around now for, I would say, a year, maybe, the new console. And it's been for cases, right? So it's been a way to look at a list of, it kind of turns the page into this tabular, not like what you know and love today with the tabs across the top. It just creates a list, kind of like the app picker, of all your different tabs.
Right.
So it's really meant for working through lots and lots of data at one time. So let's talk about cases in the Service Cloud world. Where you'd select cases, and then boom, there'd be all your list views, and you'd choose a list like My Open Cases or something like that.
Right.
And then all your cases would show up in your list, and you could click on them one by one, and they would open in these little sub tabs.
Right.
Not browser tabs, but sub tabs within the application, and you can start to work on them from there. Now, this is the same exact concept, just for sales. So think about it for leads. So it's a very familiar concept, or a similar concept to that of the Service Cloud, but taking it to a new level by allowing salespeople to work on multiple leads at one time, having them open in sub-tabs, working through the lists, and being able to really just bang through a ton of data at one time and have a lot of things open at one time and being able to bounce around between them. Because, in a busy call center environment or in a heavy sales environment, you want to be able to just pound through, and standard list views and the back to list, it doesn't quite cut it when you really see what like the Service Cloud console does for cases.
Yeah, it's basically Salesforce's. I would say it's Salesforce's reworking of a really nice technology, and Salesforce is really good at connecting data together. But it's a lot of clicks sometimes to get to other data. It was never meant until the console, and now until the new consoles, to really be on one screen and be able to see everything however many levels deep. And in fact, we get that a lot from clients. It's like, there's this thing that's 3 levels deep in terms of the hierarchy of data, and they're like, I want to see that thing that's on the bottom up here. And you can do some of that in role summary fields, and you can do some of that, whatever. But this is ability to sort of, I want to see cases up here, I want to see contact, details here, I want to see other stuff here, so I can basically stay on a screen and stop refreshing the whole thing to bounce around. So it saves a lot of clicks and a lot of navigation. And it also, so I'll add on to your thing, the one thing I saw about it that I'm really excited about is a lot of key commands. Mm-hmm. So everything is key commanded out, so you can pound it around and zip around using keys. As we all know, that's much, much faster than using your mouse. Yeah. So I think I'm not really excited about this because...
Well, that's because you're not a big, sales user.
Well,
I guess in a big-time sales environment, this would be very exciting for
somebody. I'm semi-excited only because I don't know the licensing around it.
Well, there is licensing around it.
And that's why I'm less excited.
And I feel like I'm not spreading rumors. I feel like I've heard and read that it's going to be a $10 license for this. It's also, what makes me actually excited about the license is the way that they're doing the licensing scheme.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull this back around. So instead of having checkboxes on a user record, like most add-on licenses are today, there's actually going to be something new in Winter called a permission set license.
Now you're taking away from my blog post, or maybe your blog post in 2 weeks, which will be permission sets for Winter 14.
Not mine. Not yours either.
Oh, okay. Someone new to not be named?
Yeah. Maybe. Might have to change it.
Yeah, I think anyway, you might have to write that
I think I might. But, instead of checking that marketing user checkbox or flow user or Service Cloud user checkbox, you're going to create a permission set attached to a license.
Right.
And then assign that permission set, hopefully using the permissioner plug, and assign it to the different users that are actually going to be using that license. And just to go back really quick to the actual functionality of the console, it also makes it a lot easier to log activities. So it puts activity logging on the same screen as the actual lead, as opposed to as a related list that you have to create a new one, bounce to a new screen in edit mode, edit, save, come back. You just log the activity right there on the screen. It's really, really nice for doing that kind of stuff.
Well, that alone, it's, again, my semi-excitement is I'm for it. I'd be much more excited about it, and I'd probably use it a lot, except for, the licensing things. It's not free for enterprise.
Yeah. Well, where I want to see this go in the evolution
is free.
I want to see it be free, but much like the Service Cloud and the Service Cloud console, and focusing around cases and then turning cases, the UI of cases into case feed, we saw that evolution happen in front of us. And, watching what Salesforce is doing with like case feed and chatter, I want to see leads turn into like lead feed, right? Like that kind of interface. It seems like that's the evolution where, you have this Service Cloud console, and that's what they did with cases, and cases is like the primary thing in the Service Cloud. For this console for sales, I see leads as being the main thing. I'd like to see lead feed. I just named it
lead feed.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, of the ones, the next up on it, I mean, this one is, you mentioned it, and it's like, I feel like it's going to change the way people use Salesforce.
Which one?
Well, it's the embedded analytics piece.
It's so cool. I've been playing around with it. It's really neat.
It's basically, I mean, so I'll explain what the feature is. It's the ability to put dashboard components on
a report chart,
right? A report chart.
Yes.
Sorry, on the
detail
record.
record.
And you can put it anywhere.
Yeah, you drop it in a section.
So it's in its own section.
You can have up to 2.
Right. Up to 2 sections or up to 2 on a page? So 2 columns,
charts.
Sort of.
You get 2 charts.
Okay.
It's doing a lot.
Yeah.
You also get to say, like, render separately or render with the page, so you can try and offset, like, what it's actually doing. Yeah, I'm sorry. You could say refresh on page load or don't.
Right.
And it has a little refresh button that you can click and refresh the actual thing.
Yeah, I mean, the use cases for this are just unbelievably. I mean, I can think of like 100. Obviously, on the account page, this is that bubbling up data. So, whereas we just talked about sales console bubbling up data and making it more, sort of front and center on one thing, this is the same thing. This is what people are asking for. Bring that data from below, or bring data that sort of needs to be calculated. That's harder to do. That you can't do in a lookup, in a roll up summary field. Bring it up, put it in front of me. This is like this is the magic stuff that Visualforce we used to do all the time.
Yeah, well, you know what this really replaces? You know how many times I've built the button on the account?
Oh yeah,
that passes through the account ID to a report that shows the opportunities closed by fiscal year.
Right.
So like a matrix report of like, here's this fiscal year, this fiscal year, this fiscal year with the bar chart.
Right.
Well, no longer do you have to build the custom button passing through the parameters, etc. What this does is it understands the context of the chart. So you build one report, all opportunities with, maybe summarized by closed year or whatever, and then the bar chart, and save it, and then just drop that chart right onto the account, and Salesforce understands to filter down the results to just that account. So you can see, here's either the count of closed opportunities or the sum amount of the opportunities closed in this.
I could see this being
year.
Huge in opportunities on activities. So like you could have an activity line chart.
Oh yeah,
right. Like
there's so much fun
over
stuff
time,
you can do with these charts. People are gonna just have a blast with these.
Stage history changes. You could show when they changed, what months. I mean, you could. Put that thing that's sort of in the bottom and put it into a nice chart.
Oh, yeah. And these are the kinds of things that make both admins happy because it makes their life a lot easier. They don't have to build those custom buttons. They get to play with fun stuff. And it makes users happy because they actually get to see visually what they've wanted to see for years.
I think it's going to be interesting that they're doing this sort of, with the 2, because this is like one of those features that once you turn it on, the amount of
it's like a spigot.
Well, the people, right? Because once I get this little piece, I'm now going to want a ton more.
Yeah.
I'm now going to want filtering. I'm now going to want, inline stuff. I'm now going to want dynamic charts. I'm now going to want, I can just see their minds, because this almost takes dashboards. I know it's a report chart, but it sort of is a dashboard because it's not on the report itself. It kind of takes dashboards and puts them everywhere. It's like you take dashboard snapshots and make them go everywhere.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of doing a little bit of the dynamic dashboard, meaning that you said it's reloading as you reload the page.
You can have it do that.
Yeah. I wonder if you have limits to the amount that you can do that, because you could see killing a site. With
you would think. My bet, and again, this is just a bet, is I would bet that they would. The next evolution of this will be not to add more, is to just say like allow you to post what the picture looks like at that very moment to the chatter feed of the record,
right?
That kind of thing,
right?
So that you can then start talking about it,
right?
Because it's then a discussion point,
right?
Like post, why has there not been any activity on this stock opportunity for the last 3 weeks or something along those lines?
It's nothing like a chart.
Why is this? Yeah, why is this account? Why have we sold? Looks like we've gone. We've sold incrementally to this account year over year over year. Why did this year dip? That kind of thing. It's then a discussion point.
All right. Well, give me one more. Give me one.
Should I go off my blog or should I go off just the notes? Because I left so many things off that I wouldn't mind talking about.
The blog post is there.
I didn't write anything about Outlook.
Right. Well, that's in the sales teams. Why sales teams should be excited.
Is there something in there about Outlook?
Yes, there is.
Oh, he did. Oh, that's good. So let's talk about that. The side panel, I think, has become a much improved piece of functionality. The thing that I'm most excited about with the side panel, and this is not really for me, it's for our clients, because we don't use Outlook.
Nope.
We're on a Mac, so we don't get the Outlook fun. But what I'm really excited for is finally the ability to sort of come back to what the old plugin used to be able to do, which is actually do like send an ad, as well as associate an event. So all the time it's like, oh, I have my calendar and I want to sync my calendar to Salesforce, but it syncs and it doesn't connect to anything. So it's useless. It's like, why is it there? So now you get to actually take an event from Outlook, sync it to Salesforce, and connect it to people and an opportunity or, an account or a case or whatever, right? Custom object, whatever, which is really great. I think you can do it to custom objects. I shouldn't go spouting that out without
safe harbor.
That. Yeah, without knowing that. It does say record of your choice, but I'm not really certain. What I see is actually, opportunities and cases. So I'll stick to that. But you can, grab the people that are the invitees and, move those and relate them to the actual people, which is really the important part of syncing the calendar. There's no reason to sync from Outlook to Salesforce if you're not connecting the data inside of Salesforce to the actual calendar.
Yeah, and the other one that you brought up that I think is going to be
I brought up?
Well, you brought up, but it's in the blog post, which is the more fields and enhanced lookups.
Oh, that's
huge. So for anybody who's out there doesn't know what this means, so when you're on
this is one of those hidden ones. I'm sorry, I'm cutting in, but this was one of those hidden ones I was talking about where it's like not a whole lot of love because it's not chatter or whatever, but people are going to love this one. All right, go ahead.
So this is where you're in Salesforce and you have, you're looking up to another record from some place to another record using the little, magnifying glass icon. You click on it, and then what you can search on inside of that object, what you can search on inside of there is limited. It's limited to the name field. So now you can expose more fields. And I don't know exactly. Again, I'd have to go reread it. But you can have more fields searchable, which is more important because everybody says, well, why can't I search on these 3 fields in that view? Because those fields are searchable via search. Right. Because it clearly shows up in search. So it's always been like, well, why does enhanced lookup search work differently than search?
Right. The example in the release notes was actually a simple one, which is you're looking up to a contact and you search on their email address instead of their name. Now, I think that that's actually a silly example, even though I used that one in my post because I stole it right from the notes. But for me, this becomes really important when you have custom object records that are not named with text, where they're named with auto numbers. So I used the example in my post of an inventory record that's named INV dash number. Now, how are you ever going to look up to that? But if you know it's an inventory record for a company named Arkus, you can search for Arkus, and then boom, there's the inventory. You just show a few columns, and you know which one is the right one, and you just click on that one. And I think that that's going to go a long way in usability.
So I think
people always ask me about that. They're like, why can't I search for like the name?
Right.
Why is the name this silly auto number thing.
It also makes when you're building stuff to make sure that you're naming things, because what you name sometimes makes a sense. Like you're choosing whether I should name it through an auto number or whether I should name it through a naming convention or just leaving an open field. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, this is one of those reasons why you might want to leave it open field. But I think the big one in here is kind of the small note, and it's kind of the section of the release notes. To me,
go on.
Well, because we haven't really discussed this.
What is it?
Salesforce Files.
Salesforce Files.
AKA, where's your chatterbox? Because
it's just a pilot.
Yeah, but remember, we didn't talk about this, but they basically put out a press release saying that Chatterbox was not going to happen and that this is going to replace Chatterbox, and Chatterbox is not going to be what they showed. Safe harbor, safe harbor, safe harbor.
That's what safe harbor is all about.
So it's interesting because we learned that about 2 days after watching someone, a Salesforce employee, use Chatterbox and show us how it worked and basically not know how it worked. So I was like, oh, it's a great feature, right? He's like, oh, I guess here, I'll show it to you. And he's like, oh, what's this? And I'm like, well, how does it work? He's like, I don't know. I was like, okay, must be great.
They must have piloted it internally and decided that it wasn't as great as to do that now is so sort of far behind, right? Like, think about what Google Drive has going on. Think about what some of their competitors in that particular space have going on and are so far ahead of them. And it's kind of like do you really want to store all of your documents inside of Salesforce? Really?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think for me, it's like when they show these things, again, it always feels, and there's sometimes when we saw this with content, sometimes they show these things in these Dreamforce moments, and it's like these big moments, and there was even whole sessions at Dreamforce last year about Chatterbox and how it worked, and then to sort of, that's why the safe harbor is everywhere, even on the back of T-shirts, hint, hint, and because they change their minds, and I both appreciate it from a standpoint of I don't want you putting out crappy products or things that aren't going to get any love moving forward. So Cloud Scheduler, tags, I go down a whole list of things that's like, look, the Cloud Scheduler, and then like 2 years later you're like, what happened? It's just there, but they can't take it out. So I'd rather they kill it before they release it and then have to kill it, because they don't kill it once they release it. Very rarely.
We've seen them do it.
Presentation builder being
an example.
Yeah, but that's rare. Tags is the example that it's been around for 15 billion years.
Well, this is in pilot. There's one sentence on it, and then there's a big note that says it's in pilot, and talk to somebody if you want to talk to them about it. And then there's a bigger section that says basically anything that's unreleased is, not currently available, may not ever be delivered, yada, yada, yada.
Don't even get this.
There's one sentence on what it is, and then there's 4 sentences on basically this may never happen.
Well, I think the thing is they switched from being a syncing of files to now so they renamed it from Chatterbox to the Salesforce, Salesforce Files
pilot.
But the article, and again, this is sort of relating back to why it's important, is because they're now, the quote is, Salesforce Files, and this time the company's positioning it as a way to connect files from internal and external sources, such as Google Drive, SharePoint, and Documentum. So it is less we're going to live in our own world, and more we're going to work with your other worlds. And to me, as user of Google Drive, heavy, I'm like, ooh, likey. Like, I want it to work with other stuff. I wasn't as excited about having another folder that syncs. I have Dropbox, I have Google Drive, I have .Mac, I have like 3 or 4 things that just sync stuff. But it's like, I want one that kind of works with them, not alongside them. So I'm kind of more excited about it now, but it is just literally one line. Out of 309 pages, it's like a quarter of a page. So interesting to watch. I'm expecting that to show up a little bit more. Again, and remember that thing we talked about last Dreamforce? Here it is again.
Right.
Okay.
There's a lot of reporting stuff in this. There's the historical trend reporting, which is mentioned in the sales blog post.
We've been in pilot of that for a while.
Yeah, there's also the, one of these hidden ones that people are going to love, which is the show or hide role hierarchy in reports.
Oh, that's a huge one.
So, like, showing and hiding them and making them basically disappear if you have this really big role hierarchy, not having a big block on the top of the page that shows a million roles and not actually being able to see any report data until you start scrolling down the page.
Yep.
That's an interesting one to me.
I mean, there is just a lot in here. Again, if you're not a reader of it, go to blog.argusinc.com and read up on, we're going to post a series, I think 4 now in a row, of Winter 14 release note sort of follow-ups and blog posts. So there's 2 that are up there now, release notes and why sales teams are excited, a rapid reaction. Then next week there'll be one on service and what's new in service. And then I think following that, there'll be the permissions one.
Right.
Sponsored by the Permissioner.
Yeah, we love the
Assign and revoke permissions.
We love the permissions.
So cool. Good stuff. And keep going. And when's the release? It's coming soon. I know it's October.
It's October. I feel like it's only a month away.
Hit your Trust site, so trust.salesforce.com, so you can check out your org and when you're going to get your upgrade. You should starting to see lots of the emails and things come out. Get ready for. We get tons of them. I must say, I started ignoring them because I get so many. I get 10 at a time.
I get a lot,
and I don't read them. But things I am excited about. Dreamforce.
Me too.
Dreamforce planning is kicking off here in the Arkus offices. We are.
You're going to say something else. Kicking something else.
No. Okay. They are kicking off. Do we have the band? Now it's known.
Yeah,
I don't think that was known. It's Green Day.
I think at this point, anyone listening to this podcast knows that the band is Green Day.
Well, I'm saying
unless they're living under a rock.
Okay, and it's going to be bigger and better than ever. Safe harbor on the better part. But I'd like to say, if you want to still register and save some money, Justin here has a code you can use to do so.
I do. I most certainly do. It is D13M. VPREF. Put that in as you're going through the registration flow as a promo code, and you will save $100 off your registration.
Very good. And,
pretty good.
I will say we are in the.
Who doesn't want $100 back?
I don't know. I'll tell you.
Show me one person who doesn't want $100 back.
Me. I want $200 back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I will say, as I sit here in our ideation room / podcasting studio / lunchroom /
what else is it?
/ ESPN watching
viewing
zone.
Room. Yeah.
Viewing room. We have our Dreamforce plans, and I will say that there are some neat things we're thinking about doing. We are considering doing another podcasting contest. I think we did it last year. That's right. We gave away green nanos. So this year, I think we're going to go down the path of doing another, maybe swag related. Maybe there was a hint already in this podcast. So watch out for that. Keep listening, because we will have something, and you'll have to do something to get something, I'm sure. All right, well, let's get to the CloudFocus app pick of the week. What up?
All right.
What's your pick?
It's
not here in the doc. It's not here in the doc.
I didn't put it there. My pick
trying to shock
was
me?
given to me by the partner who shall remain nameless.
Oh, yes. This was like a couple weeks ago when you didn't have a pick.
Yep. And he gave me this really cool iOS calendar app called Mind. MYND.
Okay.
And it just takes the calendar and puts it into a really interesting layout for a day view. So you'll see, if you look at my screen here, how it lays it out.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're looking at it, but you at home,
yes,
you can download it.
Everybody is looking at it
It's
right
free,
now.
so you may as well download it.
Justin doesn't understand how podcasts work.
No, I'm showing it to you so that you can see it. You choose how many.
Download it.
You can download it. You choose which calendars. It pulls directly from your calendar app. It also pulls from your contacts. It asks to do location. It does all these things because it lays out your calendar in a different way. Shows you what's next. Shows you what the temperature is, where you're currently at. If you have invitees to your next event, it shows who's in that particular event. Can show it on a map, like how to get there, drive time, things like that, if it has a location.
Nice.
It also has, like, if you click on the event itself, it does that thing that we love, which is if it's a conference call, it understands that it's a conference call and does the translation to the conference call dial-in number.
So does this replace Mobile Day for you?
It does, because it's more of a calendar. Mobile Day was more of like a utility to just dial into stuff. Even though Mobile Day was kind of like a calendar, this visualizes the day in a whole different way. So my pick is Mind, MYND.
I don't mind at all.
No, and I have to kind of find out who makes this, because
I just downloaded it. You should have asked that 2 seconds ago.
It's made by Alminder Inc. So there you go. It's free.
Yeah, so I'm
like
actually I'm giving it permission to a lot of things.
Yeah, you got to give it permission to like basically just everything in your life, because it wants everything. Could be Alminder, could be Alminder.
Anyway, it's pretty cool. What's next? Oh, I see that. I see the date, the locations.
You have to make sure it's looking at all your calendars or just the calendars that you want it to look at.
One people. I guess that's me. It's showing me.
Right.
All right, not bad. Whoa.
Yeah, it's got some pretty cool ways to look at a calendar, right?
Yeah, I like it. Mine, very cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
I don't mind at all. Well, mine pick this week is something that I'm sure everybody in the world has heard about, but maybe not used. I have not used it personally, but I watched a friend use it the other day. It's probably something we've heard about, but it is a service called Uber. So have you ever used Uber?
I've heard of Uber. I've never used it myself.
So I've never used it myself, but I literally was with a friend and did it with her. So as she went down to get the thing. So she was in our house visiting, wanted to go home, and she's like, "Well, I'll just do Uber." And I'm like, "Oh, what's?" And I kind of heard of it. I knew it was like a car pickup service, but she explained it to me, which is you basically use this app, which I'm now showing Justin, and it shows you where all these available things are, all these available cars around you. You can pick them. You then tell them where to meet you exactly. They then show up. You get in. The whole payment's done through this. You don't need credit cards. You don't need anything. It's kind of like your way to get home. Then what's nice is they rate you. So like, did you show up on time? And you rate them, so you can see the ratings of the cars.
Right.
So it's kind of has that social networking, making sure that whatever.
I like keeping that that rating in there. I like that.
And so it's literally you say I could say request a black car right now, pick me up, and again
it gives you the cost and everything.
Yeah, it gives me the cost.
It gives you options, like if you're in a location that has like a number of different car services.
So I'm going to do it right now, and I'm going to pick home.
We're here in New York City,
right.
so...
Oh, I don't know. No request found. I'm trying to find enter drop off. Let's see JFK. All right, JFK.
It's going to be like walk downstairs and get in a yellow cab.
Nope, let's see. It's looking for... Oh, it's $90. Okay.
Yeah, that's
cheap.
what I mean. You're in New York City. Like, what if you were...
That's true.
Like, just in one of the boroughs. Like, if you were in Queens or Brooklyn or something... where there are car services as opposed to a lot of yellow cabs driving around.
Right.
Now we're showing our New York roots here. It's
bias.
Like, what do you mean yellow cabs? I wonder if it would give you options like, oh, there's this one and this one and this one.
Well, you can pick different cars. You can definitely pick different cars. You can say, I don't want a black car. I want like an
kind
SUV.
Of silly because I feel like this has been around for a while.
Well, it has, but I have never used it, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I'm making my pick. It's free, but you have to sign up and obviously put in your credit card, and you definitely get an account and all that. Because again, I think the nice piece of it is you just need your phone. You don't need credit cards. You don't need your wallet. So literally, like it all goes through here. Tips,
so
everything.
How do you put a PayPal account in there? Or
you put a credit card into Uber. So
credit card.
Yeah. So like when I pull up my Uber, it has my credit card right there at the bottom. Like here's what I'm going to pay with.
The credit card number.
Yeah, sure. Last three digits.
I can't see.
Oh,
I'm
that's close. So anyway, I think that's pretty cool. Uber does it. What a neat little app. I know there's a lot of them. I know it's in San Francisco. I know it's in New York. So check your local place. Again,
weren't we trying to use that in Austin when we were in Austin?
I don't think we used. Oh, they used a different one.
They have a different one in Austin.
Yeah,
everything's a little.
Maybe it was
Uber.
Austin.
I feel like it was Uber.
Yeah. Well, either way, I like it. It was
cool.
A cool pick. So
good
Uber
pick.
Free, and there you go. We'll be back next week.
Yeah, we promise.
Well, no, I don't promise anything. Who knows what'll happen? We'll be talking. We got lots of news that has not hit this.
Yeah.
So iOS 7 came out. The new iPhones are out
We
now.
got the Workday Salesforce announcement.
Yeah, there's
we got all
tons
sorts
of
of fun
stuff coming
to
up.
talk
So
about.
we will talk about that and much more next week. Until then, remember to follow Justin at Just Edelstein, me at Jason M. Atwood, Arkus Inc. on the Twitter, on the Facebook, and on the Dreamforce portal. We're in the Success community, so we have a group in there called CloudFocus Weekly. Just search for CloudFocus. Go in there. We post it in there, so if you just want to do that, of course, go to LinkedIn. We're on Google+. We're also in iTunes, so subscribe in iTunes if it's really the best way to get the podcast. Or in Instacast. By the way, Instacast 4 came out, redesigned.
I saw that, but you have to pay for it.
Nope. Instacast 4 was free.
For me, it said like in the App Store. I think they're still sorting this out. Maybe.
Oh.
It said $4.99 or something.
No, 4 and free for me. So cool. So do that, and we'll be back next week from Jake and Justin saying, enjoy those cloudy days.